Hello, hello, hello. This is Mickey in the middle. I hope you can hear me. I hope that you can hear me. This is crazy, isn't it? All right. So here we go. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Let me turn down this song right here. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mickey in the Middle. My name is Mickey Spillane, and I'm coming to you from Arkansas, right in the middle of the country. It is a beautiful day outside. It's a beautiful day in here. Had a lot going on the last couple of months. I took a break from Mickey in the Middle for a while, and I didn't mean to take a break. It just kind of happened. It was a natural occurrence of the COVID-19. My daughter Sydney came back from Oklahoma State University before the end of the semester, so she started studying. I started doing things around here, and the next thing you know, I am not doing anything. But during that time, I watched a lot of TV, and then I went, man, this is crazy. I don't need all this stuff, and so I stopped watching TV, and I started wearing masks, and I stopped going anywhere, and I stopped doing everything, and before you know it, I was not doing TV. I wasn't listening to any radio. I was just kind of like doing my own thing around the house, and I let Mickey in the Middle slip. So I apologize to everybody that normally watches Mickey in the Middle. It's been a mess here lately. So this is a new beginning. I want this to be a new beginning for me. I want this to be a new beginning for you. We're going to be coming to you live from Cabot, Arkansas, every night, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 p.m. And then we're going to go as long as necessary. We're not going to do anything fancy or crazy in here. Hey, Darla. Hey, how you doing? There's my friend Darla over there. So she's a great American. She served her country. She's a veteran. She's also a senior Olympian. So I just want to be a huge shout out to Darla. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So this is new. And the reason that I say that it's new is because I want everybody in the country to unify under one concept. This is not a tough idea. I think that all Americans want the exact same thing. I posted about it a little earlier today, and whether you're old or young, no matter what kind of descendants you are from, no matter what kind of race, religion, creed, whatever you are, if you live in the United States of America, we basically all want the same thing. We all want our country to work good. We want to live in peace. We want to have good neighborhoods. We want to have a place for our children to grow up where they can get a great education, have food in their belly, a roof over their head, good medical care. We want to take care of the environment. We want to take care of each other. We want to have good policing agencies. We want to have great care for each other. We want cities that work well. We want neighborhoods that function properly. We all want the same thing. At least I think that we do. And that's the concept behind Mickey in the Middle. Now, you're going to have some extremists on the right, or you're going to have some extremists on the left, and the whole nine yards is that in any situation, you're going to have extremists. And I believe that the largest majority of people in the country that can all work together to solve our nation's woes are right here in the middle, because we all want the same thing. The question is what kind of philosophy is going to drive us in our decision-making process and the way that we go about this? And then how divided are we going to be, and are we going to dig in so hard that we cannot communicate to each other in order to come up with some viable solution that works for everybody in America? Now, there's a lot of things in America that work great. It's unbelievable the amount of stuff that works great in America. It's unbelievable some of the stuff that is broken that needs to be fixed. I believe that we can fix it if we unite with a common philosophy, and if we let our politicians know what is going on. So these are the things that I'm going to talk to you about today. Let me see if I can get that right. So that's my little cue card, and that's what we're going to do today. So first of all, hello everybody. My name is Mickey. It says it right there on the card. So welcome to the new show. The music at the beginning is mine. Mick and Ollie put that together. If you could like and share this message, I would greatly appreciate it. I cannot do this alone. I cannot do this with a small crowd. I'm going to need a large crowd. I am not in this for the money. I served in the United States Air Force for about 30 years. 30 years, 12 days, I think. So I've got to retire from them. And when I got out, I opened up my own business, Spillane Enterprises, where I help design airborne logistics systems for military aircraft. That's going pretty good. Thank you very much. I also DJ. I'm a business consultant. I do a lot of things out here in the world just to make a couple of bucks to supplement my retirement and my other job that I do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm qualified or not qualified to do this job. My name is Mickey. I live in Arkansas. I was in the military for 30 years, and prior to that, my dad was in the military for 27 years. Graduated down in Louisiana from Parkway High School. So big shout out to everybody down there in Bossier City, Louisiana, Shreveport area. And then I traveled around the world in the military, and I ended up in Arkansas. Now, there's some things that are unique about my life that when I look through the lens of my life and I look through the world, I see it through my lens. Now, my lens is not going to be exactly like your lens. And I need everybody to understand that when we start talking about how different people view problems, there's not a truth in your opinion about the way that you look at life. Somebody goes, well, this is the truth. And they go, this is my truth. Okay, let's talk about that real quick, because your truth is seen through the lens of your life experience. And that may not be the exact same as the person that's your brother or your sister, your neighbor. It may not be the same as somebody from a different part of the country. It's going to be different from no matter where you are. So I'm going to give you a little bit about my viewpoint and some of the things that shaped the way that I look at the world. So my dad was in the military, like I said, for 27 years. We grew up, the majority of my years, from 8 to basically 13 years, was spent at a little bitty air base called Incirlik, Turkey, in Adana, Turkey. I learned how to count to 20 in Turkish. I learned at that time I knew a lot of Turkish, and the reason I knew a lot of Turkish is because while we were there, my dad worked, my mom worked, so they had hired somebody to watch the kids. You know, it was kind of like a daycare, right? So my mom and dad had 5 kids, right? So there's Christy, Scott, Kelly, me, John, Mickey, and my big sister Cammie. So we had somebody come in that took care of us every day. And it was a Monday through Friday gig, and she was an absolutely wonderful person. Her name was Sidika, and she was Turkish. So I grew up being taken care of by somebody who was a different nationality, did not speak the greatest English, but she spoke enough English that we could communicate. And she basically raised, with my mom and dad, my mom, my dad, and Sidika, she kind of raised us. Now, she made us eat cauliflower. And that's just wrong on so many levels. It's just absolutely horrible. And the reason I bring that up is because whenever you start thinking about the way that you were raised, the people that raised you up is what gives you an opinion of the world. So she was Turkish. We also, my mom and dad hired somebody to mow our lawn and take care of our gardens. He was Bali, B-A-L-L-I. So he took care of the garden, right? So we had people of different ethnicities and nationalities all around us. We had men, women, young, old. It didn't matter. When we moved back to the United States, we moved to Bossier City, Louisiana. another thing that influenced me and the way that I grew up is our next door neighbors, when we moved to Bossier City, Louisiana, were the Faruyas. Now, the Faruyas were totally different than we were. They were totally different than Sadika and Bali. They were totally different because their kids were from a mixed marriage, right? So they were from New York, Puerto Rican, and black, right? So coming from Turkey, I didn't think anything of them being my neighbors. That was just the way it is. That's the neighborhood that I landed in. And so the next thing I know, me and Armando are hanging out. And I like to tell the story that I taught him how to dunk a basketball, and he taught me how to dance. So he didn't teach me how to dance. And we both only had a 6-foot high rim in the front yard, so we both could dunk. But Armando was my best friend. Oh, another thing about Armando, he's 90% deaf. So people with handicaps, people with different nationalities, people of different backgrounds were nothing to me. So when I say that I only see people, I don't see nationalities, color, or anything else like that. I just don't. And that was the way that I was brought up. Now, I was brought up a lot different. So I was brought up a lot different than a lot of people. So a lot of people do or do not know things based on the way that they were raised. And I was thinking about this earlier today. Earlier today, I was thinking about, hey, how in the world can I explain to people the philosophy of being afraid of people that you don't know? So you grow up in your neighborhood, and you can go to different neighborhoods, and in different neighborhoods they have different characteristics, right? So you have the highfalutin people that are living in part of the town, and then you have people that are living in trailers. And those are two totally different demographics. And when you go to one, you could be intimidated. When you go to the other, you could be just as intimidated, but for different reasons. My wife, Tanya, let me show you Tanya, right? She's awesome, right? So this is, and we'll be talking more about my Facebook page here in just a second, but this right here is my lovely wife, Tanya. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she was a fighter. She was absolutely my hero. She was a teacher, then she became a principal, and when she became a principal, she wanted to make sure that every demographic was represented in her school and taken care of. You know what she did? Every once in a while, she would take all of her teachers, and she would put them on a school bus during the summer, and then she would drive them around Cabot, Arkansas to all of the different neighborhoods and talk about all of the kids that came from the neighborhoods. Now, she didn't talk about specific race. She didn't talk about specific poverty levels, but when you drove through different neighborhoods, you can tell that some kids had everything, some kids had some things, and some kids had nothing. My wife had the biggest heart for all of the kids that had nothing, including love. Because there's a whole bunch of people that grew up in broken homes, that didn't have any money, that didn't have the finer things in life. And she had a big, huge heart, and she had a big, huge soul. Hey, it's my cat's here. My daughter's cat's here. So my wife used to do this, and then they would have very frank discussions about what it took to get kids that were from parts of the city that didn't have a lot, and how do you get those kids that didn't have parents, that didn't have internet, that didn't have electricity, that didn't have heat in the wintertime, how do you get those people to be successful when they don't have any successful examples, when they don't have the resources to take advantage of the internet, or when they, to do anything else. So that is the background that I'm coming from. I mean, I realize that there are different people looking through different lenses as it comes to this. And some of this has to do with race, and some of this has to do with demographic, and some of this has to do with just what your life experiences are. So with that being said, here's the analogy. I want you to think that there are some people that are afraid of water. I don't understand it. I've been swimming in the pool and in oceans and rivers my entire life. I don't understand why anybody would be afraid of the water. I don't understand why anybody would be afraid of the woods. I've been in the woods ever since I got down to Louisiana. When I got down to Louisiana, Kenny Senecal and I used to go running through the woods like we were crazy people. It was incredible. It was the greatest time ever. But there are some people that they saw Jaws and they will not go in the ocean because they think that they're going to be attacked by a shark. There are other people that do not want to go into the woods because they think they're going to be attacked by a cougar or a bear or some other type of thing. Ticks. People don't like ticks on them. Somebody said the other day that they don't want to go into the woods because they don't like ticks. Because, hey, here's what the thing is. Ticks are absolutely terrible. Nearly killed a friend of mine named Steve Hayes. So, a tick-borne disease nearly killed Steve. Luckily, his wife was able to identify it and call a doctor who said, "Hey, look here, this is what you need to do in order to get rid of this." Big hey to Steve and Marianne. So, the reason I bring up this analogy is when people of different cultures get together, that makes people apprehensive because they may or may not have been around people from a certain culture or a certain demographic. When you say that there is no race problem in America, then that is from your viewpoint. And being philosophically driven on this show is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to philosophically reason that both sides of an issue absolutely have valid points. So, is there a culture in our United States of America where some people have things and other people do not have things? Yes, there are, right? There's socioeconomic differences between everybody in our country. So the question then becomes, can you understand their point of view just because you see things from your point of view? And that's what the philosophy about this is. So I'm inviting you to invite everybody to this show. Everything because as it relates to age, as it relates to race, color, creed, religion, being patriotic, being non-patriotic. See, I don't want to talk to the extremes, right? I invited my daughter to do this show with me today. And she said, "Dad, I don't think I want to be that politically controversial." And I said, "Sydney, I do not want to be politically controversial either. What I want to do is I want to present philosophical reasons why we should all be in this together and why we can empathize with other people that we may have disagreements with. And as long as we have civil conversations, we can find solutions that we can give to our leaders so that they can make good decisions based on what we want, because they're supposed to be representing us." See, everybody else that is out there is being a pundit, is being an editor and making editorial comments. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to present different sides and see how we can come to some type of a common agreement. I know that not everybody out there is going to agree with what I say. I don't want everybody to agree with what I say. Listen, I'm a 58-year-old white guy from Arkansas that was served 30 years in the United States military. My opinion on patriotism is pretty much going to be a lot different than those people that did not serve 30 years in the United States military, did not have a dad that was also in the military. Some people have never met anybody in the military. There are 330 million people in the United States of America. That's a lot of people. Most of those people have never met somebody in the military. You want to know why I know this? Because we only have approximately 2 million people in the United States military serving in the active duty, guard, and reserve. That's not very many. The total number of people, I did the math on it the other day, is 0.6% of people are in the United States military in the guard, reserve, or active duty. Now, my vacuum is going off, right? So I need to go get that. So here's what the thing is about that. All right, so my vacuum just stopped talking to me. I hate that thing, man. It's always interrupting. All right, so here's what the thing is. People in the military, dependents of people in the military, kids of people that have been in the military, grandkids of people that have been in the military, have a different view of people that have never met the military. The young people in our culture today have absolutely They have absolutely nothing in common with a 70, 80, 90-year-old person, and therefore it's really hard for those two demographics to communicate with each other. There are some people that don't have the opportunity to meet a lot of people of color. I look around, and everywhere I see are people. And when I start looking at their race and I start looking at their backgrounds, I realize that, hey, we're on the spectrum, like Facebook has. Anybody got the Facebook emoji, right? So it's got the pale all the way to the extremely dark-skinned people that are in there. And I think that that's great, right? They have all kinds of hairstyles. They have all kinds of hair colors. But that's the way that I look at the world, right? I just look at people, and then I realize that some of the best friends that I've ever had in my entire life happen to be of a different background than me. It's shocking and amazing. Now, I hang out a lot by myself. But if you go back and you look at the way that I was raised, I don't just listen to conservative radio. I listen to all kinds of radio. So if you guys didn't know it, on XM satellite radio, 125 is Patriot Radio, which is conservative radio. 126 is urban radio, and 127 is progressive radio. Those things are all lined up right on my car. I'll listen to, half an hour. If I'm traveling across the country, I'll do a half an hour of conservative radio, then I'll do a half an hour of urban radio, then I'll do a half an hour of progressive radio. Want to know why? Because I want to be balanced. I'm not going to look at one point of view. This is where the idea of Mickey in the Middle came from. By the way, like and share, tell all your friends about it. The reason I do this is because I want to be well informed about what everybody else is thinking about. So, what's the primary thing about today? The whole primary thing about today is the philosophy that we are all in this together. And how do I know that we're all in this together? Well, because in the beginning of our country, the founders of our country had it mainly right. They had a 90% solution for everybody living in the United States of America. The 90% is a great solution, and the court system and our laws are the other 10% that do it. I got news for everybody in the United States of America. Whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're black, white, Asian, Latino, it doesn't matter. If you're in the United States of America, we all have the same Constitution. It all guarantees the same thing. I got news for you. You're already an American. You're already free. You already have certain unalienable rights. The rights of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. You have those. Nobody can take them away. You are exactly like me. It does not matter where you come from, what you say, what you do, anything. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter whether you are urban, from the suburbs, or from rural America. Every single one of us has the exact same rights. Now, economically, we are very diverse. Culturally, we are very diverse. We're 3,000 miles worth of country. From New York to California is 3,000 miles. I don't know how far it is from Miami to Seattle, Washington, but here's what the deal is. That might even be further. I need to get on my motorcycle. I need to do that. Rob Workman, we need to go for a ride, brother. We need to go to Florida and then go and see my sister in Seattle. Rob and I did a ride out to California a couple of years ago. We went and saw my sister out there, so it was a great thing. Hey, Kelly, if you're watching. All right, so back to the point at hand. Philosophically, we are all given, just by virtue of being in the United States of America. We extend all of these rights to people that visit here, and we extend all of these rights to everybody that is potentially coming to our country, people that are visiting our country, people that are asking to be admitted as citizens, whether legally or illegally or undocumented, however you want to put it. Everybody that's in the country has the exact same rights. You have the right to be free, not to be picked on. So Those should be non-controversial things. The question is how are those things administrated, and how are those things administered throughout the country, and who gets what and under what circumstances? Everybody keeps talking about, employee rights and employee this and employee that. Here's what the deal is. You don't like the way your boss is treating you? Quit your job and start your own company. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of opportunities. I started my company after I retired with $1,000. $1,000 is what it took to start my company. You know what I did? I went out and I bought some DJ gear, and I put up some lights, and I got some speakers, and I started DJing around city. Next thing I know, I was good, and people wanted me to do weddings and Sweet 16 parties and every gig at the high school and at the junior highs. And I started DJing, and then I did it for service organizations, like the VFW. I did it around town for the Chamber of Commerce. I every single year I host Cabot Fest, which is our big local festival. I like it. I started my business for $1,000. And then when somebody called me up and said, hey, look here, we need help designing this airborne logistics system. Can you help us? I opened up another branch, and that was another way that I made money. And then somebody said, hey, man, can you give me some advice about my business? And I said, sure, but I'm going to have to charge you for that. So now I have a business consulting firm. Here's what the deal is. Getting into business for yourself takes a little bit of guts, a little bit of money, a little bit of common sense, and just do it. And then you don't have to worry about an employer anymore. You don't have to worry about showing up late for work. You get to go work whenever you want. That's the beautiful thing about America. You don't have to rely on anybody else. You are free to create your own economic environment so that you can go out and be successful. You can work for other people. You can work for yourself. You're free to do whatever you want. You can go to all 50 states. You can choose to carry a gun. You can choose not to carry a gun. You can choose what church you go to. You can choose what to say, what not to say. You can choose to criticize people. You can choose to not criticize people. You can go on. I started a web show. Who would figure? We're all coming from the exact same place. Now, some of the things that pissed me off about this. The Constitution. People think that the Constitution wasn't made for everybody because it says that 3/5 black people were only worth 3/5 of a person. Okay, that was immediately reversed, and the next, like in 2 Congresses after that, they reversed that. And ever since then, the court system has determined that every man, woman, child have equal and unalienable rights as associated. See, that's the beautiful thing. Although the Continental Congress did not have that 100% solution for the Constitution, they got it close enough because they set the country up that you had the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. And the judicial branch is solid. You know what? Our legislatures, the women's right to vote. Back in the 1920s, and then the civil rights movement in the 1960s resulted in all the civil rights laws, and then the Americans with Disabilities Act in the 1990s, and gay marriage has been confirmed as legal and righteous by the Supreme Court just a few years ago. We're all in this together, right? Another thing that contributed to me realizing that we're all in this together is when I was 15 years old, I fell in love with a girl in my neighborhood. And then she came up to me one day and she said, hey, look here, I got something very important to tell you. I'm being blackmailed for sex because I'm gay. I was shocked. I didn't know. And here's what the deal is. I had to quickly make adjustments in my mind about how do I feel about gay people, because I loved her, and all of a sudden, my world was turned upside down. But guess what? I loved her enough to just go, hey, guess what? People are people. You love who you want to love. I'll love who I want to love. But all of a sudden, now that changed my view on the world. It changed my view of people that had a different sexual orientation than myself. I met a lot of people that have been Muslim. I met a lot of people that have been Jewish. I'm Catholic myself, right? I'm Catholic and Christian. As a matter of fact, I go to 2 churches, right? Love both of them. I go to New Life Church here in Cabot, Arkansas, which is one of the greatest churches. It's very diverse. It's very, very loving and caring. And then I go to St. Jude's, which is in Jacksonville, which is a Catholic church. Here's the thing. you don't have to go to church. It's guaranteed in my Constitution. It says, the United States of America cannot create a church, and they will not limit anybody who wants to do church. Bam. Look at that. And all this stuff about, well, they think this and they think that, and who cares what other people think? Think about for yourself. Think about how you go through life and how you interact with other people, and just be philosophically sound in everything that you do, right? So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to give you some names. I'm going to give you some names of people that I follow now. So I gave up TV, I gave up conservative talk radio, and I started listening to other people. So the first name I want to give you is Sony Johnson. Sony Johnson is a conservative, is an urban radio, a conservative urban radio person. She's conservative, but she's not Republican. So she talks about what's going on in the urban community and why it affects, and she's a great historian. She does a lot of research. Her name is Sony Johnson, S-O-N-N-I-E Johnson is what her name is. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. Let me do this. Duplicate. All right. Let me show you what I'm doing over here. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to go up and do Sony Johnson. Sony Johnson. Okay, so this is Sony Johnson right here. This is her page. I highly encourage you to go listen to this lady. She is absolutely amazing. Now, a lot of people don't like her style. I'm going to warn you, right? So that she is my favorite commentator today. I cannot emphasize this enough. She is my favorite commentator today. She has a very harsh style. She is loud. She is brash. She will consider what you got to say, consider what I have to say, but she is fantastic. She gives a great history of blacks in America and why they should relate more to conservatism than progressivism and liberalism. And I'm not bashing progressivism or liberalism, because I think progressivism, liberalism, and conservatism are all patriotic. This is one of the things that I'm trying to tell you, right? When I say that we all have the same goals, we all have the same goals. Patriotic, right? Whether you're progressive, conservative, or Democratic, right? So the second person I want to talk about is David Webb, right? So David Webb, there, D-A-V guide. Oh, sorry. All right. David Webb. This is David Webb. Okay. So the reason I listen to David Webb is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. All right, let me show you that, right? Okay, so I haven't been on his page in a really long time. I didn't know that he was going to be shaking President Trump's hand there, right? So I didn't know that. But here's the reason why I like David Webb, right? So he comes from a very, very diverse background. But the thing about David Webb is he is very conservative, and he gives you a great reason why he's conservative. He's one of the most well-reasoned human beings on the planet. I am enamored by him in what he has to say. And then David J. Harris Jr., this is him. He comes from a faith-based history where he just wants America to be awesome. So those are my top three, right? So what I want to do now is I want to show you who I've been watching for a while, right? So as I go through this real quick, right? So somebody sent me this. This is, Candace Owen had this up. So conservatism may or may not be one of my things, but one of the things, so I am conservative. Let me start off with that. So I am conservative, right? But I vote for whoever I want to vote for. So some of the things that I've got on this page, oh, look, there's my beautiful wife, memories with Tanya Crow, right? The Arkansas Freedom Fund is one of my organizations. It was D-Day in here. Okay, see this dude on the right? This guy right here, his name is Killer Mike. So I would like to talk to you about Killer Mike for a little while. Killer Mike says, I guess the best way to put Killer Mike is like, be your own person, be your own boss, be responsible for yourself, take care of yourself. We've got a lot of things that are going on in this country, but here's what the thing is. You should be responsible for you, and you need to do everything you can to make yourself successful, because there are the greatest opportunities in this country. He doesn't want anybody making excuses. What he wants is he wants people to do the right thing. Now, there is a lot of racism in America. Let's not pretend about that, right? So here's what I mean by racism in America. Remember when I was talking about the ocean, when I was talking about the trees, the same thing is for racism in America. I have too many friends that are black that have told me themselves that when they drive down the street and they get stopped by the police, they are nervous, right? So I'm nervous too. Just want to let you know. But they have this image in their head of things going wrong, because that's what they see. That's the lens that they're seeing things through. And they see that when they go to apply for a job, it might be a little bit harder for them to get a job. So this is not institutional racism, right? Institutional racism is when an institution has been created to specifically deny those things. And when you find that, you take them to court, and then the court fixes that stuff. Right? So here's what the thing is about this particular situation. It is an absolute shame that anybody has to be scared when the police comes up behind them. It's horrible. Talk about George Floyd. I could not even imagine the suffering that man went through on the way to visit his maker. It's an unbelievable shame. I have not heard one single person or one single commentator or one single anything that says that that was acceptable or that is all right. It has been condemned universally. I didn't want to talk about this today, but after talking about Killer Mike, I've come to realize that we cannot be afraid to have these conversations. And if I'm going to do Mickey in the Middle, and I'm going to say that I'm going to be inclusive of everybody, whether you're black, white, brown, whether you're Asian, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you do. We have to have the conversation. We have to have the tough conversations. I watched Killer Mike do interviews a while back, and I was so impressed with this young man because he just tells it like it is, and he has made it in America. He has made it in America. And you would think that he didn't have an opportunity to make it, but you know what he did? He took the bull by the horns, and he made himself awesome in America. I want everybody to do that. I want everybody to be awesome in America. He says some very, very controversial things, but you should tune in to Killer Mike, because Killer Mike says some things that everybody needs to hear. Michael Jr. comedy. I'm going to show you this real quick, right? So, wrong one, right? So, concern, yes, right? Young Pharaoh, when you get an opportunity, watch Young Pharaoh. He's pretty awesome. This right here is a politically charged speech from the pulpit about racism and why some people believe that it is real, although other people are saying that it's not real. And here's what the thing is. If you get an opportunity to watch this, Adelo Thayum, watch that one, right? I'll put this on my link, right? Racism in America. This guy's not a racist. This dude and a black friend of his put on an incredible rap battle about racism. It's got 53 million views. I'm going to put all of these links. I'm going to put all of these pages on the Mickey. I'm going to put all of these stories on Mickey in the Middle page so that you can go back and you can see them. because I think that this is a political commentary on where we are as a country. And he says that he's not a racist, and his friend says that he's not a racist, and they talk about why. Now, this has got some very, very harsh language in it, so be very, very careful about that. Okay, so Black Lives Matter and the truth. So I'm going to go back to this. This right here is the incoming chairman, Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force. General Brown was the commander of the Pacific Air Forces, and he was just nominated. And I will put this up. If you get when you get an opportunity, you have to watch this. This is extremely compelling. As a matter of fact, we're gonna watch some of this right now.
With the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot? As the commander of Pacific Air Forces, a senior leader in our Air Force, and an African American, many of you may be wondering what I'm thinking about the current events surrounding the tragic death of George Floyd. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd. I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. And thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality. I'm thinking about living in two worlds, each with their own perspective and views. I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about then going to a high school where roughly half the students were African American and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about my Air Force career, where I was often the only African American in my squadron, or as a senior officer, the only African American in the room. I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot? I'm thinking about how I sometimes felt my comments were perceived to represent the African American perspective, when it's just my perspective informed by being African American. I'm thinking about some of the insensitive comments made without awareness by others. I'm thinking about being a captain at the Oak Club with my squadron and being told by other African Americans that I wasn't black enough since I was spending more time with my squadron than with them. I'm thinking about my mentors and how rarely I had a mentor that looked like me. I'm thinking about the sound advice that has led to my success, and even so, most of my mentors could not relate to my experience as an African American. I'm thinking I don't have all the answers on how to create such an environment, whether here in PACAF or across our Air Force. I'm thinking about without clear-cut answers, I just want to have the wisdom and knowledge to lead during difficult times like these. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead, participate in, and listen to necessary conversations on racism, diversity, and inclusion. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead those willing to take committed and sustained action to make our Air Force better. That's what I'm thinking about. I want to know what you're thinking about. I want to hear what you're thinking about and how together we can make a difference.
When I saw that, it affected me deeply. That is perspective, and that is the reason why I have started Mickey in the Middle again. We cannot continue on the path that we are on where we do not have serious conversations about our country, the citizens of our country, and what we're going to do about this. It's an absolutely incredible comment, and I want to show you one other thing. This right here is the current Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, and this right here is the Chief Master Sergeant. Oh my goodness, Caliph. What? Oh no, O'Neill. Sorry. Caliph. Oh right. I am sorry about that. I apologize, Chief. My brain just My brain just got wrapped around, right? So he's the chief. He is the highest position in the enlisted force in the United States Air Force. I will post this, and I would like all of you to go and watch it because this is incredibly powerful stuff. So do me a favor, and when you get an opportunity, go to the links below and watch this. They had multiple conversations. They had multiple conversations and multiple things in there. And then here's my last recommendation. This right here is the Hodge twins. They're comedians, but they're political commentators as well. So those are the people that I would like you to go and watch. So I'm going to put them all in the links below. So listen, this is Mickey in the Middle. Please like it. Please share this. Please let everybody know that we've got to be in this together and we've got to move forward with the country. My number one thing is I want 536 politicians fired. I want to start a new beginning. I want 536 politicians fired. I'm not a fan of any of them. I think that they're not all crooked, but I think that they get into a political environment, and I think that they need to do that. So where do I get 536 from? There's 435 congressmen that need to be fired. There's 100 senators that need to be fired, and there's one president that needs to be fired. Here's what the thing is. Be informed. Go with a philosophical base. Know who you're voting for and vote all of them out. Now, this isn't going to be popular. I don't want it to be popular. I want a new beginning. We got a great country. We got great people. We have shitty politicians, and we need to get rid of all of them. They have gotten in there. And when we get up there, when we elect new people in there, they need to fire their entire staff. Everybody in Washington, every congressman, every senator, they all have these huge staffs that when you go up there, they go, hey, yeah, we're the staff from Arkansas. Fire all of them. We're the staff for the Congress or the senator from California. Fire them all. Get rid of them all. Let's start anew. If we put 536 new people in Washington, maybe we'll get better results, because right now we're getting really crappy results in the people that we are. Everybody's taking a side. Everybody's doing everything they can to bash the other side and make the other side look as bad as possible. Listen to me. I like some of them. I'm going to tell you what, I think some of the best politicians in the history of the world have been up there, right? People aren't going to like this, right? But I've been a fan of every president that we've had, right? In my lifetime, I was a fan of Ronald Reagan. I was a fan of Bush. I was a fan of Bush Jr. I was a fan of Clinton. I was a fan of Obama, right? No. The Obamas had policies that I did not agree with, but I like his philosophy about unifying and bringing the country together. I'm a semi-fan of Trump, right? I don't like his personal actions, but I like his political actions, right? You don't have to be a fan, right? If you take away the policies from the human being, I need everybody to understand that, we can do better if we philosophically do better. Okay? We are going to look back at this as a turning point in our country when it comes to racial relations. There's going to be a turning point when we come to taking care of each other because of the coronavirus. We now have a $6 trillion higher debt load than we had 4 months ago. $6 trillion. Oh my gosh, we're screaming up to like $30 trillion really, really fast. And we owe that money to people, right? So this is Mickey in the Middle. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know that this went really, really long, and I apologize. I just want to let you know, do me a favor, like, share, let everybody know what we're doing here, because we're going to be here every single night for the foreseeable future until somebody tells me, hey, you can't do this anymore, or until I just can't take it anymore. So like, share, recommend, talk about the movement that we have, which is we're all in this together. So let's act like it. So peace. You guys all be good. Take care.